664. So in the module 1 we have. Good morning everyone. Today we are going to start with the module 1 of Python application programming. So the first module consists of why should you learn to write programs. Second one is variables, expressions and statements, and third one is conditional execution, and fourth one is functions. So let us start with one by one. So the first topic is why should you learn to write programs. So the main purpose why we are going to write the programs is it will solve the real-time problems. It might be arithmetic problems or it might be logical problems. See, today we are using various devices to do the coding. We are using desktop, we are using laptop, and we are also using cell phones or mobile phones which are embedded with the operating system, memory and central processing unit. So that means a person who want to code no need to depend on only a laptop or computer. He can also do programming using mobile phone. It purely depends on the person how he is going to do it. Then see, a person when he is doing same task repetitive number of times, multiple number of times, surely we will get bored. Then how to solve that problem? So that problem will be solved with the help of programming. That problem will be solved with the help of programming. See, to give you an example, take your WhatsApp. Say for example, you have a set of people who is working under you. So if you want to send a message to 10 members, so instead of sending one by one, you can make it as a group and then you can send the message. So that is a one kind of solving the problem, right? So instead of doing repetitive tasks, sending 10 members 10 messages, you can send one message to the 10 members. So that is the purpose of why should we learn the programming. So there are there are many programming languages which suits our need. So depending on the various factors, we are going to select the programming language. Like depending on your computational ability, that is depending on your device, depending on the application which you are going to develop, depending on the language which you are going to develop, depending on the complexity of the problem. So we need to select the programming language, right? So the main purpose why you should learn the programming is to solve the real-time problems and also make sure that the repetitive tasks are done only one at a time so that you no need to perform same task again and again. See, what is the creativity and motivation involved in the programming? What is the creativity and motivation involved in the programming? First, let us talk about the creativity. See, the moment you start programming, you should think about the end user. You should think about the end user. How best you are going to solve the problem of the end user. How best you are going to solve the problem of the end user. See, the moment you become or you say, I am a proficient programmer, it doesn't mean that you know programming. Say, for example, if I say I know Java very well, it doesn't mean that writing programming in Java is going to be the only characteristic which we have. Then what is the creativity? You should be in a position to think logically, which we call it as logical thinking. You could be in a position to understand the problem. You should be in a position to give a solution to the problem. You should be in a position to think innovatively, creatively, how best I can develop an application using the optimized resources and with or without any errors or hassles to the end users. With or without any hassles to the end users. So that means how best possible way you can give the solution to the problem which can be accessed by the end users. So that means your creativity will come into the picture. The moment you will get the requirement, you should be in a position to understand the requirement and you should be in a position to give a proper solution to the end users. And coming to the motivation. See, the motivation is always no remains same. See, why we need to learn programming? Because there are huge number of requirements in IT industry, so which is having very good pay as well. So where we need to get motivated to learn the programming. And every programmer should have a proper ethics in delivering the best possible output to the clients. See, when it comes to the development and application, it doesn't mean that just writing the program. You should give a feasible solution, user-friendly software with very less or no hassles. With very less or no hassles. So what does it mean? See, we have so many softwares in the market. But why we are using only particular software? Because it is very user friendly and it is very feasible to use and there is no bugs. To give you an example for this, there are various applications which are available in the market with respect to, say for example, sending a message. Why most of us we are using WhatsApp? Because it's very user friendly, feasible solution. There is no bugs at all. There is no bugs at all. And as a programmer, you will be good at programming, but you should think about the end user because he don't know anything about programming. He know only extracting the knowledge from the software and how to use it. How to use it. Again, take the same WhatsApp example. Say, though we are programmers, we don't know how it is programmed. As an end user, we are using the WhatsApp and we are able to send the messages, receive and change the settings and all. But if some problem comes, you cannot rectify on your own, because it has been developed by someone. So in the same way, as a programmer, you should make sure that you are going to give the effective software to the end user. Effective software to the end user. So that is our motto. So this is the creativity and motivation behind programming. See, just having the programming is not going to solve our purpose. We should also have a hardware machine where we can run this program, which is called as computer. So in any computer, there will be a basic architecture which we are going to see now. So this is the basic computer hardware architecture. So if you see the basic computer hardware architecture, there are various devices. The first one is input and output device. Second one is central processing unit. And third one is main memory, network, secondary memory. Input output devices, central processing unit, main memory, secondary memory, and network. Now let us see one by one. So the first one is, let us start from the central processing unit. So what is this central processing unit? So the central processing unit is going to be the heart of any computer machine. So the main purpose of central processing unit is to perform arithmetic, logic, control, and I/O operations. Arithmetic, logic, control, and I/O operations. So what does it mean? So the moment you give some instruction to the computer, the CPU is going to start its process. So whatever task you are going to give, whether you want to execute a program, whether you want to transfer the data, whether you want to delete the data, whether you want to read the data. So every task will be performed by the CPU at a tremendous speed. That is the reason we are using machines. See, say for example, if I give 2 plus 3 to get the output, if it is taking 1 hour, then what is the purpose of the machine, right? So CPU is going to perform every task which is assigned by the users within no time. Again, the performance of the CPU depends on various factors like what kind of processor you are using, what is the clock speed of the processor. To give you a real-time example, the moment you go to the computer shop to buy a laptop or desktop, what we will ask, whether it is i3 processor, i5 processor or i7 processor. And what is the clock speed? 2 GHz, 2.5 GHz, 3 GHz. So that means various factors which depends on the hardware configuration will make sure that the CPU is performing the better way to get the results. Then next go to the main memory. What is this main memory? So the main memory is going to be the intermediate module between the central processing unit and secondary memory. So the CPU is going to directly access the main memory. Say for example, if some task has been given to the CPU, if it requires some information, that information will be fetched from the main memory before the execution. So the moment it fetches the information from the main memory, so it will process the instruction, it will process the task, then it will complete the task. So that means the main memory is the place where we are going to have multiple tasks which are loaded, which will be taken by the CPU one by one and it will be processed. See, the moment you turn off your machine, the main memory data will be deleted. Then where your data is going to be? So the data is going to be in the secondary memory. So the secondary memory is also called as permanent storage of your computer. The secondary memory is also called as permanent storage of your computer. So the size of secondary memory is always greater than your main memory. So the example for secondary memory is hard disk, your USB devices, so etc. So that means the secondary memory is going to have all your data, all your instructions. The main memory is going to work as an intermediate unit between your CPU and the secondary memory. Next comes your input-output devices. See, this is very simple. As all of us know, just to have an hardware machine, it's not going to fetch anything. You should have some input and output devices where you need to type your instructions, where you need to see your results. So for that, we are going to use the input and output devices. So technically, if you want to set the definition of input output devices, it is going to be the communication between the computer and the human, the computer and the user, or instead of human, you can say user. The interaction between the user and computer will be done with the help of input output devices. To coin few examples for this: keyboard, mouse, monitor, printer, etc. These are all the input output devices. Next comes network connection. Though it is not a part of computer hardware, but nowadays every computer is connected to the network. Why we are connecting to the network? So when you want to communicate between the machines, you require a network connection. When you want to transfer the data between the machines, you require a network connection. But the data transfer between two machines which are in a network is slower compared to the data transfer between the CPU and secondary memory, because the network, the computers which are connected in network, the data transfer rate depends on again variable factors, various factors such as trusted connection, the cable which we used, hardware components, etc., etc. So we are not going to touch much about it because you are going to study all these things again in your computer networks. But this is the basic hardware architecture of a computer. See, you might be wondering why sir not explain this what next. See, what is this what next is? See, the moment CPU process one instruction or one task, it will be waiting for another task or instruction asking that what is next, what is next. So that means the CPU is not going to be idle until unless you turn off the machine. It will be keep on processing one or other instruction, keep on processing one or other instruction. To give you an example, you will be thinking sometimes I'll keep my laptop or desktop ideal position. But sir, at that time, what CPU will be doing? So at that time, CPU will be taking care of background operations. At that time, CPU will be taking care of so many background operations, right? So as a programmer, just to having programming knowledge is not sufficient. We should also understand the basic computer hardware architecture so that we can become much more a better programmer, right? Next, understanding the programming. See, as a programmer, you should have a couple of skills which will make you a better programmer. See, the moment you get a problem, you should be in a position to analyze what is the problem, how I can build the best solution for this, how I can build the best solution for it. To give an example, if a client is coming to you and asking that I'm going to start an e-commerce company. Can you develop an e-commerce website which is much better than your Flipkart or Amazon? Right? So the moment you get the requirement, you should be in a position to understand what he is expecting from you and how best you can build that solution to give it to the client. See, as a programmer, there are two essential skills which you should have in order to develop the best solution. The first one is thorough knowledge of the programming language. You should know the vocabulary and grammar of the language, whether it is C programming, Java or Python or PHP. You should know the vocabulary and grammar. What is meant by vocabulary and grammar? The vocabulary and grammar is nothing but you should know the syntax of the programming language. So when you know the syntax of the programming language, then only you can understand, hey, which syntax I can use here to develop this solution. Instead of using for loop, if you use if condition, your output is not going to be solved. So that means you should be in a position to analyze, understand, and come with a feasible solution using the syntax of the programming language. Then only you can construct a proper program. The second skill which is required by the programmer is skill of implementing a idea. See, the moment the customer is coming and asking you, I want to develop an e-commerce website, you should analyze his requirement. You should analyze his requirement, understand his requirement, and you should be a good storyteller. Why you need to be a storyteller? Because the end user doesn't know anything about the program. If you say that I'm going to use this function here, this condition here, he cannot understand. What he required end of the day, he required the final output. So you should tell him, see, I'm going to develop the website like this. This is going to look like this, and this is the final design. You will get like this. So that means you should be in a position to say an effective story where the end user can be able to understand what you are going to develop. Once end user says that, hey, I'm happy with the design which you shown, then you can start the development, and within the stipulated time, might be 3 months, 6 months, depending on the requirement, you can give the final feasible solution. So that is the reason you should be a good storyteller, right? And you should also have the ability to understand which programming language I need to choose for this particular problem, which programming language I need to choose for this particular problem. So you could not say that I'm a best programmer if I know Java. So you should understand, analyze, give proper solution to the end user. That is very important. And next comes our words and sentences. See, as all of us know already, in all the languages, we required words and sentences to fill the program or to build the program. So to develop a Python program also, we required few words and sentences to construct a program. So first we will talk about the keywords. As all of us know definition of keywords already, the keywords are nothing but which are having fixed meaning, which we cannot change, but which we can make use of it in your program. See, the keywords meaning cannot be changed. If you want to make use of them, you can make use of them in your program. Like other programming languages, Python also supports few keywords. To coin few keywords, you can see here and, def, define, finally, in, or, while, as, del, for, is, pass, continue, tries, return, true. So these are the keywords which is used in the Python. So the moment we say keywords, we need to again understand one more terminology called variables. Because when you want to store some data, you require variables. So for that, we are going to use the variables. See, compared to other programming language, in Python programming language, you no need to declare a variable. Directly, you can make use of a variable. That we are going to see in the when we discuss about the programming. Now, let us see how Python is going to be installed, how to work with the Python. So where it is available, what is Python basically, right? So as like other programming language, Python is also one of the programming language which supports both procedure oriented and object oriented features. So you can download Python from Python website, which is python.org. So this is a website where you can download the Python. So Python is an open source. You no need to pay a single rupee for this. You can directly download it and you can use it. So this is a Python website where you can also see sample programmings, and Python is having very good community. So what is meant by community? Community is nothing but a group of developers. So if you have any doubts, you can ask it here. They will answer you, right? And there is very good documentation about Python. So documentation is nothing but how we can use Python for various applications, so that you can download this documentation and you can do it. Then comes your downloads. So the moment I click on the downloads, you can see here. So you can go down and you can see various versions of the Python. So at present we are with the 3.9 version, which is 3.9.6. So the initial version which is released is 2.7, but now we are in the 3.9.6. So what is 3.9.6? So 3 is the main version. So 9 is the how many changes it has made, and then how many sub changes keep on coming, like additions which are coming, right? So usually you can see this one in your mobile phone also. Suppose if you have installed Android version 10 or MIUI version 10, so when you get the update, it will become 10.1, 10.1.1, 10.1.2. So upgradation is 1. Out of that, another upgradation is 0.1, right? So under version 3, upgradation is 9. Under 9th version, there are 6 upgradations. So like this, you will get. So the moment you click on this download, you could be able to download it. So you can click on this download. So you can go down and see these are all the various sources available. Depending on your operating system, you can choose it. So already I have installed, I downloaded and installed. So installation is very easy, just like next, and then you can install. So the moment you install the Python, so if you go here, you can see the Python will be installed. You just type Python. So you just type Python. Python. If I type Python, you can see if the Python is installed, you need to get this called IDLE. You need to get this IDLE. What is this IDLE? I'll tell you. See, the moment you install Python, you will get the IDLE. What is IDLE? IDLE is nothing but Integrated Development Learning Environment. Integrated Development and Learning Environment. So this is the environment where we are going to write our Python code. So where you could be able to learn and develop your own programs. Learn and develop your own programs. So I just opened that IDLE. It will take a couple of minutes to open. Yeah, now you can see here. This is the Python IDLE. This is the Python IDLE. This is where we are going to write the programs. As I said a couple of minutes before, you no need to declare the variables. Say for example, if I want to assign a equals to 10, so directly I can do a equals to 10. When I print a, you can see it is assigned. Same thing with b equals to 20. So there is space. So b equals to 20. Sorry. Yeah. So when I say b, it will be 20. And when I say suppose if I want to calculate a plus b, so a plus b equals to 30. So this is how we're going to write the Python related coding here. So you may ask questions, sir, this is single individual instructions, you can write it. But if I want to write a program, how to do that? So it's very simple. Go to file, go to new file. So the moment you click on new file, one more window will open like this. Here you can write the Python programming. Here you can write the Python programming. Say for example, I just want to print hello world. Let us see whether we will get the output or not. Then you go to file, then save as. So the moment you get save as, it will go to the place where Python installed. So how to save Python programming? You can say sample. Already I have sample.py. So let us take sample234.py. So .py is the extension which we are going to use for the Python. Then save it. So once you save it, go to run and run the module. You can see the output has come. So that means individual instruction practice can be done here. If you want to make a new program, separate program, you can go to file, new file, then it will open one window. You can run it here. You can save and click on run this module. Then you will get the output. You will get the output. So this is how Python will be installed and executed with the help of IDLE, right? And also, once the Python is installed, you can also use various IDEs which are available in the market. Various IDEs which are available in the market. So as of now, most of the users, this is what I have shown ideally. Most of the users, they are using two IDEs which is called as Anaconda and PyCharm. Anaconda and PyCharm. So what is meant by IDE? IDE is nothing but Integrated Development Environment. Integrated Development Environment. What is Integrated Development Environment? That is the place where we are going to write our program or write our projects and see the execution. And one point I just missed out in the IDLE here, you can see here there are three greater than symbols which are coming. What they are called as? So they are called as chevron. So this is the place where we are going to write the instructions. So this is called as chevron. This is the place where we are going to write the instructions, right? And Python IDLE will support most of the activities, but when you want to connect to the database or go for the high level programming where you need to import some packages, where you need to install some packages, then IDLE is not sufficient. So that time we need to go for the IDE. There are various IDEs available. As I said, one of them is Anaconda. We have PyCharm. We have Jupyter Network. Right? There are so many things. Sometimes you can also use browser based, right? Say for example, if I don't want to install, so directly I can go like Jupyter Notebook. So this is one IDE which you can use for your executing your Python programs. You can execute your Python programs, right? So like this, we have so many open source. They are all open source. You don't need to pay single rupee for anything. So this is another place where you can also do your Python programming, right? So various IDs available which you can make use of in the real time. So I'll stop it here. In the next class, we are going to talk much about the interpreter and compiler, how to write Python programming, how to execute the programs, various programs, all those things we'll discuss in the next class. So thanks for joining the class.